Most PPC specialists open Google Ads, stare at 15 empty headline slots, and then they'll write the same generic garbage every single time. When you do that, you're not writing to get improved performance. You're writing to get a higher ad strength score. You're also secretly at the same time just trying to serve an algorithm to get an A+ test on your test, but what you've actually just done is it has a negative impact on your account. The problem isn't that you're a bad copywriter. The problem is that you don't know how to do this. The problem is you don't have a framework. And without a framework, you default back to the same generic headlines every time because you can't figure out where to start or what to actually write. The worst place for a copywriter to be is staring at the blank page. Now try staring at a Google Ads account where you have dozens, maybe even hundreds of ad groups with 15 headlines and then 4 descriptions. Today, I'm going to show you the responsive search ad writing framework that I use for all my e-commerce clients. It has 14 formulas for writing headlines that actually work. It's much simpler than what you think you need. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to write better ads in 30 minutes instead of not updating an ad for a year. But let's get into it. Here's what happens without a framework. You open your ad group for men's winter jackets and you need to write 15 headlines to make the Google Ads gods happy. You write big selection of men's winter jackets, best prices on winter jackets. You write lowest prices, you write great selection, shop online, best selection, great prices. And see a pattern here? You're more or less writing 7 headlines that all say the same thing. We have jackets, we have a lot, and they're cheap. And then you start multiplying it across 50 ad groups. And the result of this is that you can learn what works, because you don't know what you're testing and it's just random what works because it's all saying the same thing. You end up with mediocre performance because your ads all blend together. And you have wasted time because you're not reiterating on winners or coming up with brand new concepts. I present these findings in a lot of the audits that I do to in-house teams, and I always get the same pushback. But Andrew, don't I need to create 15 headlines to get a high ad strength? And isn't a high ad strength important? I'd say 2 things. No, ad strength by itself isn't important. Ad strength only looks at how many headlines you've created and not the quality of each headline. It's like getting an A+ on your exam because you answered all the questions. It has nothing to do with what you actually said or you got things right. It's simply just you got an A+ because you answered all the questions. It's the same thing when you just write 15 headlines. Now, the second one is, yes, in an ideal world, you should probably create 15 headlines, but I'll talk more about how many headlines you should actually have, depending on some data later in the video. If you create 15 headlines that all sound the same, then it doesn't work. Responsive search ads are intended to use different headlines for different search terms, audiences, and devices. When you write the same thing 15 times in tiny variations, then it clearly doesn't work as intended. Let's get into how I solved this, because I had the same problem as everybody else when responsive search ads just came out. The solution is obviously a framework. Not just any framework, but something where you have headline formulas. So I've created a framework that has 14 headline formulas for e-commerce, where it's split up into 5 core formulas that work for 90% of your campaigns, and then 9 more advanced formulas for when you need differentiation and when you want to take one step further. The benefits of this is that you get to write ads in 30 minutes instead of never. Like the script originally said write ads in 30 minutes instead of 2 hours, but it's like you don't write the ads anyways. And the reason why you can write ads faster is that you're not starting from scratch every single time. Then you can test these ads systematically. It's much easier to write a new social proof headline in the social proof formula than it is to stare at 15 variations and say, like, which one do I remove? Which one should I write new of? How do I write great selection in a new way? So it's much simpler to do it this way, and you'll wonder how you ever wrote ads beforehand. You didn't do it before, because that's typically what I see out there. The third benefit is that you can scale what works. You can copy the winning formulas across campaigns, and I'll show you how in a second. I have 14 headline formulas, and I'll start with explaining the core 5, because these work for 90% of campaigns. These are what I will call non-negotiable. Every responsive search ad should have these, and this is where you should start. So there's 5 different formulas. There's the keyword standalone, there's the keyword modifier, there's the promotion, there's the e-commerce trust, and then there's social proof. Let's go through them one by one. So the keyword standalone It's something I see most people when they start testing ads, they don't test this as well. But I've seen it work incredibly well, just having the core keyword in the headline, and that has the highest CTR and the highest conversion rate, which is scary because then what am I spending my time on? But that's an aspect. You want to have that in there. The second part is the keyword plus modifier. So you add something like most popular, on sale. You add the year to it. You add who you're targeting, a little bit on the audience. You add new. You add different things in there. So you add context to it, to your keyword, without losing that relevance that you need when you put the keyword in the headline. And then we go over to like the basics, promotions. We all know how to do this. This is where most of the ads are written today. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. E-commerce trust is just a group of headlines or a formula that I've seen work really well. Free shipping, free returns, etc., etc. It tries to remove the friction, and it's just something you can write on every single ad. And sometimes having men's winter jackets 2025 free shipping is the best converting ad. We don't have to overcomplicate this. And the second one is social proof. If you have 20,000 5-star reviews, then that builds credibility, and it works really, really well, especially if you're not that well known. Then having some kind of social proof, and it doesn't have to be this particular thing. Here's a quick example with a responsive search ad that all of a sudden becomes winter jackets. Second headline is men's winter jackets 2025, up to 40% off this week, free shipping and returns, 15,000 happy customers. Those are 5 headlines. They're all different, all serve a different purpose, and there's no repetition. If we then take this and start thinking about the more advanced formulas, you want to use these 9 advanced formulas when you want to differentiate even further from your competitors. You have a unique selling point that's worth highlighting, or you're in a highly competitive auction. Everybody else is already saying the same things as I just mentioned before. So you need to try to separate yourself from the pack in some way. So here we have 9 different ones. Seasonality, benefits, features, brand/authority, target audience, problem solution, comparison/value, urgency/scarcity, gift and occasion. So in these, I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but I just wanted to highlight a couple, because you can download all this after this. So the seasonality is one of the easiest wins you can find. Perfect for cold weather, perfect for warm weather, spring jackets, etc., etc. It just gives your ad a higher CTR because people are looking for something for cold weather when it's cold. They're looking for something to protect their eyes in the sun when it is sunny, etc., etc., etc. Then the next one is features, and that's something you can write, especially if you have a high SKU count, because that's what nobody else does. And I have a separate video where I use AI to write very specific feature and benefit focused ads for every single category that we run. But it allows you to take a standout technical feature that your competitors won't. They will just write free shipping, or they will just write free returns, or they'll write 30-day returns, and it doesn't work. The next one that I really like is target audience, like for outdoor enthusiasts. Call out the people that want to buy this particular. I sell swimwear for kids, and I will say parents love this, parents new thing, or your kids will love it. So I will mention something about parents, I'll also mention something about the kids. You can speak directly to a specific niche. And then, of course, you go into the gift on occasion, which is, again, perfect Father's Day gift. Even if you're not running a promotion, you can use this occasion to write something, and it's really, really cool. Now, it's very, very important when you do this is you don't need all 14 formulas or all 14 headline types in every single ad. Start with the core 5, test those, find new ways. I'm going to show you how to test them in a second, and then try to say, okay, this headline formula from the core 5 doesn't work well. Let me try to take 2 of the ones from the more advanced ones that fit your product and try to test them so you don't do it all. Then, of course, go into the description, and I have a lead magnet, which is just a full list of the core 5 formulas and the core 9 formulas that also include instructions for AI. So when you upload it to an AI, there's already an instruction to how to write them. Now, let's talk about how to actually use the framework, because we want to do this the right way. The first thing I want to talk about is start with the right number of headlines. Responsive search ads are algorithmic. They need data. More headlines equals more data needed to optimize. So my rule of thumb that I want you to follow is if you have more than 50 conversions per month, then you can step up and use 7 to 12 headlines. If you have less than 50 conversions per month in a campaign, then you use 4 to 6 headlines. Most people should be using 4 to 6 headlines. Yes, Google says you need to use 15, and no, you shouldn't. The problem with this is that the math doesn't math for me. If you have 15 headlines and 4 descriptions, then you will write 60 possible variations. If you have 30 conversions per month, divided by 60 variations is half a conversion per variation. Like you can see here, we need to get a lot of data in here for Google to start selecting the headline variations that actually produces conversions. And that's simply just not enough. So what ends up happening is that Google will end up focusing on the variations with the highest CTR. But the highest CTR does not equal the highest conversion rate always. Sometimes it does, but not always. So you end up with responsive search ads that have a high CTR but low ROAS. And that's when smart bidding starts decreasing your bids, making search forever a smaller and smaller part of your spend. The second thing is to reuse headlines across campaigns. This is where most people will waste time. Because if you look at your core 5 headline formulas, then your promotions, e-commerce, trust, social proof, they work for every ad group in every account. Write them once and copy them around everywhere. Only customize keyword headlines, of course, category specific features, benefits, and other things. And if you talk to a specific audience in one ad group or one campaign, but this alone will save you 80% of your time. You don't have to write something custom for every single ad group for this to be extremely impactful. The third thing is once you've done this, and this is a little bit more advanced, but then write 2 to 3 custom headlines per ad group. This is a lot more advanced, and I would say skip it if you're not writing any ads today, but I've seen this make a difference in accounts that have stagnated on search. This is where I talk about these features and benefits and those product specific headlines. So again, if you're selling insulated winter jackets, then stay warm down to 20 degrees below freezing, or Prima Loft Gold insulation. Some of these things will outperform generic ads 2 to 3x because competitors aren't doing the same thing. The fourth thing I want you to remember when you do this is for peak season, like during Black Friday, Christmas, peak seasons, big sales, only use proven headlines. Don't test 15 new headlines during your biggest revenue week. Take your 4 to 6 winners from the rest of the year and run only those. Even here, at least 2 of these 4 to 6 will be promotional focused. So you end up with only around 2 extra headlines that aren't saying save 20% or keyword, 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 keyword. So limit testing during high stakes periods. And for goodness sakes, the fifth rule that I have for all this is no pinning. Let your headlines compete. Don't pin anything. I know we all want to pin. I know we all want to take that control. You're going to mess it up. Google's algorithm is better at choosing winning combinations than you think, so let it work. At a later stage, I have another video on this. You can test pinning versus not pinning once you have data, but start with no pinning. I see a lot more people mistakenly pin headlines, like you'll pin the keyword headline in slot 1, promotion in slot 2. And you'll never realize the slot 3 is hardly ever used except for on mobile sometimes. So you're essentially just run a 2 headline responsive search ad. Okay, let me show you how to actually implement it. Here's what you do tomorrow. So step 1 is to audit your current headlines. So just to open up your account, open up a campaign. You can either do the entire account or on a campaign level. If you do entire account, remove your branded campaign. So the first thing you want to do here in one campaign, you want to find out how many ads or headlines are being used across it, because you don't want to analyze the keyword specific one in this instance. You just want to see which of the ads are actually working. So you want to go in and say used by, and then more than 10. This isolates all the headlines that we're using across all the ad groups in this campaign. And this is then when we can start saying, okay, what is actually working? So you want to look at 2 things: conversion rate, CTR, and ROAS. In this case, we can see that the top one here has the highest CTR, doesn't have the highest conversion rate, and thereby don't have the highest ROAS. You cannot 100% depend on this, because this will also have been shown to a lot more searches than anything and than any of the others. So you can't 100% depend on it, but we have something where we're looking at this. This might not be 100% correct what Google is doing. The next one seems to be doing much better. Same CTR, higher conversion rate, much higher ROAS, or POAS in this case. So this is what we do. The first thing is we take all the ones that are getting no impression, no clicks, down to this one. No, do we do that? The conversion rate is so high. I'm going to keep that one. We're going to take the bottom 4 and remove them. And then this is what we do. This is what I want you to then do with this data. I want to remove the variations or the headlines that are not working, and then go in and say, okay, let's find out what are the headlines that actually work and why do they work? Because this is what we go through to step 2. Now we start saying, okay, go back to the core headline formula. Do you have a pure keyword headline? Do you have a promotional headline if you run promotions? Do you have e-commerce trust, social proof, keyword modifier? If any of those are missing, add them. And then if take one or two of the existing headlines that are working really, really well and try to write them better. So now you're actually sitting and saying, okay, now I have the core 5 headline formulas, and I'm still working. I still have the best performing headlines as from before, and I have 1 to 2 new variations of the old ones. That's what I would do if I were you. Then step 3, this is really the testing part. You can also do it once a month if you want to be aggressive, but honestly, every 90 days can be more than enough for most accounts. Go in, check which formula categories get the most impressions, highest CTR, highest conversion rate, highest ROAS, and write more variations in those categories. Delete headlines in losing categories and repeat. Let's try to circle back to where we started. Remember those 15 headlines that all said big selection, best prices, lowest prices? I hope you can see now why with this framework, each headline will now serve a different purpose. We have keyword headlines for relevance, we have promotional headlines for price conscious people, we have social proof for credibility, we have trust signals to remove friction, we have benefits and features to differentiate, no more repetition. Now the algorithm can use your headlines to actually make an impact instead of having 15 just random headlines. This works. I've put the entire full framework in a downloadable template in the description, and it includes all 14 formulas with AI prompts you can use to copy into ChatGPT or Gemini, because I get Gemini for free, then to write your headlines for you. Grab it, use it. Let me know in the comments which formula works best for your business. Are there any formulas I've missed? And if you want more frameworks like this, especially if you want the next video that talks about how to actually do ad testing with this, subscribe and I'll drop a new video every single week. I'll see you in the next one.
If you're into practical PPC insights that you can actually help you, then subscribe. I share tips, breakdowns, and call out what's working and what's not. No fluff, just the stuff that you can use every single week.